The Queen's Birthday Honours 1960 were appointments in many of the Commonwealth realms of Queen Elizabeth II to various orders and honours to reward and highlight good works by citizens of those countries. They were announced in supplements to the London Gazette of 3 June 1960. At this time, honours for Australians were awarded both in the United Kingdom honours on the advice of the premiers of Australian states, and also in a separate Australia honours list. Recipients of honours are displayed here as they were styled before the new honours. United Kingdom: Viscount Field Marshal Sir William Joseph Slim, K.G.A., C.B.A., C.M.G.A., C.V.O.A., B.E.D., S.O.M.C., lately Governor-General of Australia. Baron Basil Sanderson, ESQ, M.C., for services to industrial relations in the shipping industry. Privy Councillor Cuthbert James McCall Allport, ESQ, T.D., M.P., Member of Parliament for Colchester since 1950. Assistant Postmaster General 1955 to 1957, Parliamentary Under Secretary of State, Commonwealth Relations Office 1957 to 1959, Minister of State, Commonwealth Relations Office since 1959. Frederick James Errol, ESQ, M.P., Member of Parliament for Altrincham and Sale since 1945. Parliamentary Secretary to Ministry of Supply 1955–1956 and to Board of Trade 1956 to 1958. Economic Secretary to HM Treasury 1958–1959. Minister of State, Board of Trade since 1959. Baronet Major Thomas Philip Barber, D.S.O.T.D., D.L. for Public Services in Nottinghamshire. Sir Herbert Walter Butcher, M.P., Member of Parliament for Holland with Boston since 1937. A Lord Commissioner of H.M. Treasury and Joint Deputy Government Chief Whip 1951 to 1953. Chief Whip, Liberal Unionist Parliamentary Group, 1945 to 1951 and since 1953. Vice Chairman, National Liberal Organisation since 1952. For Political and Public Services, Major Sir Guy Richard Lloyd, D.S.O.D.L., Member of Parliament for East Renfrew, 1940 to 1959. For Political and Public Services, Sir Kenneth Dugald Stewart, B.E., Chairman, Trustee Savings Banks Associations. Knight Bachelor Robert Stevenson Aitken, ESQ, Vice-Chancellor, University of Birmingham. Reginald Pridham Borkwell, ESQ, C.B.E., Public Trustee. John Maxwell Bemrose, ESQ, for Political and Public Services in the East Midlands. Frank Bauer, ESQ, C.B.E., President, Association of British Chambers of Commerce. Walter Eric Cheeseman, ESQ, C.B.M.D., F. RCP, Medical Advisor, HM Treasury. Harold Clowes, Alderman, O.B.E., J.P., Lord Mayor of Stoke-on-Trent. George Beresford Craddock, ESQ, M.P., Member of Parliament for the Spelthorne Division since 1950. For Political and Public Services, John Gorenwy Edwards, ESQ, Director, Institute of Historical Research and Professor of History, University of London. Colonel William Heneage Winfinch, M.C., lately H.M. Lieutenant of the County of Carnarvon. Percy Llewellyn Hunting, ESQ, Chairman, Hunting Group of Companies. Richard Hugh Jessel, ESQ, lately Deputy Chairman, Export Credits Advisory Council. Edgar Mayne Keating, ESQ, C.B.E., Member of Parliament for Bury St Edmunds, 1944–1945. For Political and Public Services in Suffolk and Wessex. Malcolm MacLeod Macaulay, ESQ, C.B.E., lately Chief Constable, City Police, Glasgow. William Hunter McFadyen, ESQ, President, Federation of British Industries. Commander John Francis Whittaker Maitland, DL, M.P., Royal Navy, Member of Parliament for the Horncastle Division since 1945. For political and public services. Thomas Neame, ESQ, M.B.E., Horticulturist, for services to fruit growing. John Samuel Richardson, ESQ, M.V.O.M.D., F.R.C.P., Physician, St. Thomas Hospital. Benjamin William Rycroft, ESQ, O.B.E.M.D., F.R.C.S., Consulting Ophthalmic Surgeon. Samuel Isidore Salmon, ESQ, for political and public services in London. Basil Ferdinand Jameson Shonland, ESQ, C.B.E., Director, Research Group, United Kingdom Atomic Energy Authority. Andrew Smith, Alderman, C.B.E., Chairman, Lancashire County Council. Basil Owen Spence, ESQ, O.B.E.T.D., President, Royal Institute of British Architects. Gordon Brimsblack McIver Sutherland, ESQ, Director, National Physical Laboratory. Henry Gerard Thornton, ESQ, Foreign Secretary, the Royal Society. Edward George Tucker, ESQ, Controller of Death Duties, Board of Inland Revenue. William Holmes Lister Urton, ESQ, M.B.E.T.D., General Director of the Conservative and Unionist Central Office since 1957. For political services. Wilfred Douglas Vernon, ESQ, Chairman, Spillers Limited. Frederick John West, ESQ, O.B.E. for political services in Middlesex and Essex. Australian States, State of Victoria. The Honourable Arthur Dean, Judge of the Supreme Court of the State of Victoria. State of Queensland. James Arthur Holt, ESQ, Coordinator General of Public Works, State of Queensland. State of South Australia. Ferdinand Cairdrew, ESQ, C.M.G, Under Treasurer, State of South Australia. State of Western Australia. Lawrence Percival Gadsden, ESQ, President of the Local Government Association, State of Western Australia. Commonwealth Relations. Brigadier Matthew Henry Cox, C.I.E.O.B.E.M.C, Indian Army, formerly Additional Director General of Ordnance Factories in India, for services in connection with development projects in India. Thomas Vasey Scrivener, ESQ, C.M.G, Deputy High Commissioner for Basutoland, the Bechuanaland Protectorate and Swaziland. Overseas Territories. Chao Signin, ESQ, C.B.E. for public services in Hong Kong. Marie Charles Emmanuel Clement Najenda Lestang, ESQ, Chief Justice of the High Court of Lagos and the Southern Cameroons. Hallam Gray Massar, ESQ, C.B.E. for public services in Barbados. Odemegwu Oyukwu, ESQ, O.B.E. for public services in the Eastern Region, Nigeria. Olagbegi II, the Olowo of Owo, for public services in the Western Region, Nigeria. Alfred Bailey Rennie, ESQ, Federal Justice, the West Indies. Arthur Trenham Weatherhead, ESQ, C.M.G, Deputy Governor, Northern Region, Nigeria. Ralph Wyndham, ESQ, formerly Justice of Appeal, Eastern African Court of Appeal, now Chief Justice, Tanganyika. Order of the Bath. Knight Grand Cross of the Order of the Bath. Admiral Sir Caspar John K. C.B. Knight Commander of the Order of the Bath. Vice Admiral Wilfred John Wentworth Woods, C.B.D. S.O. Lieutenant General Ian Hari Richards, C.B.D. S.O. Lieutenant General Sir Rodney Mort K. C.V.O. C.B. C.B.E.D. S.O. Late Foot Guards. Frank Chalton Francis, ESQ, C.B. Director and Principal Librarian, British Museum. Alfred John Sims, ESQ, BE, Director General, Ships, Admiralty. Companion of the Order of the Bath, Military Division Rear Admiral the Right Honourable David Charles, Earl Cairns. Rear Admiral Edmund Neville Vincent Curry, D.SO. D.Sc. Rear Admiral John Grant, D.SO. Rear Admiral John Graham Hamilton, C.B.E. Rear Admiral Edmund Thomas Larkin, O.B.E. Major General Reginald Cartwright Missenden Leeds, M.V.O. B.E. Rear Admiral Michael Lafanus, D.Sc. Rear Admiral Ernest Mill, O.B.E. Surgeon Vice Admiral William Robert Sylvester Pankridge, Q.H.P.M. RCS.L. R.C.P. Surgeon Rear Admiral Dermot Francis Walsh, O.B.E. Q.H.S.F. RCS.M.B. Major General Gilbert Thomas Lancelot Archer, Q.H.S.M.B.M. RCP. Late Royal Army Medical Corps. Major General Eric Stuart Cole, C.B.E. Late Royal Corps of Signals. Major General John French, Late Royal Armoured Corps. Major General Frederick Clarence Campbell Graham, D.SO. Late Infantry. Colonel, the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders. Major General William Dillon Hughes, C.B.E. Q.H.P.M.D.F. RCP. Late Royal Army Medical Corps. Major General Basil Douglas Jones, C.B.E. Royal Army Ordnance Corps. Major General Henry Morn Lydet, C.B.E. D.SO. Late Royal Armoured Corps. Major General Dennis Grattan Moore, Late Infantry. Major General Richard Henry Littleton Wheeler, C.B.E. Late Royal Regiment of Artillery. Air Vice Marshal Colin Scragg, C.B.E. A.F.C. Royal Air Force. Acting Air Vice Marshal Ronald Arthur Ramsey Ray, O.B.E. Royal Air Force. Air Commodore or Denny Allerton, C.B.E. Royal Air Force. Air Commodore Herbert Valdemar Murmagin, C.B.E. A.F.C. Royal Air Force. Air Commodore John Nicholas Haworth Whitworth, D.SO. D.F.C. Royal Air Force. Acting Air Commodore James Anthony Leithart, D.SO. Royal Air Force. Group Captain Derek Cameron Stapleton, C.B.E. D.F.C. A.F.C. Royal Air Force. Civil Division Frederick Arthur Bishop, ESQ, C.V.O. Deputy Secretary of the Cabinet. John Sterling Brunton, ESQ, H.M. Senior Chief Inspector of Schools, Scottish Education Department. Percy John Curtis, ESQ, C.B.E. Secretary Exchequer and Audit Department. Owen Francis, ESQ, Under Secretary, Ministry of Power. Frank Hollins, ESQ, Under Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food. Maurice McIntosh or Johnston, ESQ, Under Secretary, Office of the Registrar of Restrictive Trading Agreements. Frederick Meashlamley, ESQ, C.B.E. Director, Building Research Station, Department of Scientific and Industrial Research. James Stuart McPetrie, ESQ, Director General of Electronics Research and Development, Ministry of Aviation. William Nicholson McQuilly, ESQ, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Labour and National Insurance, Northern Ireland. Thomas George Talbot, ESQ, Q.C. Counsel to the Chairman of Committees, House of Lords. John Martindale Wilson, ESQ, Under Secretary, Ministry of Defence. George Kennedy Young, ESQ, C.M.G. M.B.E. Under Secretary, Foreign Office. Order of St. Michael and St. George, Knight Grand Cross of the Order of St. Michael and St. George Sir Kenneth Roberts Ray, K. CMG, QC, Legal Advisor, Commonwealth Relations Office and Colonial Office. Knight Commander of the Order of St. Michael and St. George Horace Algernon Fraser Rumbold, ESQ. C.M.G. C.I.E. Deputy Under Secretary of State, Commonwealth Relations Office. Arthur Wendell Snelling, ESQ, CMG, High Commissioner for the United Kingdom in Ghana. Alexander Montgomery Wilson Ray, ESQ, CMG, MD, CHB, Medical Advisor to the Secretary of State for the Colonies. Michael Justin Cresswell, ESQ, CMG, Her Majesty's Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary in Belgrade. Samuel Viscount Hood, CMG, Minister, Her Majesty's Embassy, Washington. Roderick Wallace Sparks, ESQ, CMG, OBE, lately Her Majesty's Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary in Saigon. Companion of the Order of St. Michael and St. George Harold Bailey, ESQ. United Kingdom Senior Trade Commissioner, India. Ronald Stewart Simmons, ESQ. CIE, Assistant Secretary, HM Treasury. Brigadier Croxton Sillery Vale, CBEMC, Regional Director, Northern Region, Commonwealth War Graves Commission. Arthur Franklin Williams, ESQ, Assistant Secretary, Ministry of Power. Kenneth Johnston Binns, ESQ, Under-Treasurer of the State of Tasmania. Robert Peter Forkas, ESQ, OBE, Resident Commissioner, Bechuanaland Protectorate. Richard Henry Francis, ESQ, General Secretary, Dairymen's Organisation, State of Queensland. Norman Frederick Mitchell, ESQ, a Judge of the County Court, State of Victoria, President, Royal Agricultural Society of Victoria. Harold Goodhue Turner, ESQ, formerly Principal Establishment Officer, Federation of Malaya, now Secretary to the Federal Treasury. Guy Trayton Barton, ESQ, OBE, Chief Secretary, Barbados. Ellis Emmanuel Innocent Clark, ESQ, Attorney General, Trinidad. Randall Erskine Ellison, ESQ, ED, Chairman, Public Service Commission, Northern Region, Nigeria. Michael David Irving Gass, ESQ, Chief Secretary, Western Pacific High Commission. Ian Gilbert Gunn, ESQ, Resident, Sokoto Province, Northern Region, Nigeria. John Leslie von der Heide, ESQ, CBEMC, Chairman, Public Service Commission, Tanganyika. Lieutenant Colonel the Honourable Henry Anthony Camillo Howard, Administrator, St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla. Richard Edmonds Lewitt, ESQ, DCM, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education, Labour and Lands, Kenya. Alistair James McIntosh, ESQ, OBE, Resident Advisor and British Agent, Eastern Aden Protectorate. Dermot Arpelier Murphy, ESQ, OBE, Commissioner for Special Duties, Western Region, Nigeria. John Horace Parry, ESQ, MBE, Principal of University College, Ibadan, Western Region, Nigeria. Henry Ellis Isidore Phillips, ESQ, MBE, Financial Secretary, Nyasaland. William Wenburn Smith, ESQ, CBE, Minister for Education and Labour, Tanganyika. Peter Hyler Gornstallet, ESQ, CVOM-BE, Secretary to the Prime Minister, Federation of Nigeria. Jerome Opuj, Pseudo-G, ESQ, Chief Secretary to the Premier, Eastern Region, Nigeria. Leonard George Coke Wallace, ESQ, CIE, Chairman, Public Service Commission, Western Region, Nigeria. John Vernon Wild, ESQ, OBE, Administrative Secretary, Uganda. Alex Cecil Stanley Adams, ESQ, CBE, Councillor and Consul General, Her Majesty's Embassy, Bangkok. Colonel John George Figes, OBE, Military Attaché, Her Majesty's Embassy, Tokyo. Joseph Francis Ford, ESQ, OBE, Her Majesty's Consul General, Hanoi. Marie Ferdinand Philippe Hirchenrode, ESQ, CBE, British Judge, Supreme Restitution Court, Hereford. Kenneth Herbert Huggins, ESQ, Counselor, Her Majesty's Embassy, Washington. Robert William Fairfield Johnston, ESQ, CBEMCTD, Counselor, United Kingdom Delegation to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, Paris. Frederick Cecil Mason, ESQ, Counselor, Her Majesty's Embassy, Tehran. Thomas Richard Shaw, ESQ, Foreign Office. Edward Emil Tompkins, ESQ, CVO, Foreign Office. Paul Hervé Giraud Wright, ESQ, OBE, Foreign Office. Royal Victorian Order Knight Commander of the Royal Victorian Order Ronald Montague Joseph Harris, ESQ, CBM, VO. Commander of the Royal Victorian Order Major Michael Babington Charles Hawkins, M.VO.M. BE Group Captain George James Horatio Jeffs, M.VO.O. BE Vladimir Klein Michel, ESQ, M.VO. David Stevens, ESQ. Member of the Royal Victorian Order. At this time the two lowest classes of the Royal Victorian Order were Member and Member, both with post-nominal letters MVO. Member was renamed Lieutenant from the 1985 New Year Honours onwards. 4th Class William Horace Fisher, ESQ. Deputy Commander Evan William Jones, Metropolitan Police. Wing Commander Herbert Brian Kelly, MD, M, RCS, Royal Air Force. Commander Nigel Hugh Mallim, Royal Navy. Chief Superintendent Albert Edward Perkins, M, VO, Metropolitan Police. Wing Commander Albert Ernest Sims, OBE, Royal Air Force. Phil John Turner, ESQ. 5th Class Albert Edward Bigden, ESQ. Kathleen Maud, Mrs. Devers. Miss Enid Price Hill. Superintendent Frank Gully, B.E.M. Metropolitan Police. Captain Norman Henry Morgan, M.M. Ephraim James Rainbow, ESQ. Derek Roy Waters, ESQ. Order of the British Empire. Knight Grand Cross of the Order of the British Empire General Sir Cecil Sugden, K.C.B.C. B.E. Colonel Commandant, Corps of Royal Engineers. The Right Honourable John Walgrave Halford, Baron Cottesloe, T.D. For services to the arts. Dame Commander of the Order of the British Empire Commandant Evelyn Louisa Elizabeth Hoyer Miller, B.E. Hon. ADC Director, Women's Royal Naval Service. Air Commandant Alice Lowry, RCQ, HNS, Princess Mary's Royal Air Force Nursing Service. Miss Flora Mackenzie Robson, C.B.E. Actress. Mary, Lady Herring, M.B.B.S. for Social Welfare Services, especially in connection with nursing organisations in the state of Victoria. Knight Commander of the Order of the British Empire Vice Admiral Lancelot Arthur Babington Pale, C.B.D. S.O.M. VO Major General Nigel Pryor Hanson Tapp, C.B.C. B.E.D. S.O. Late Royal Regiment of Artillery. Air Vice Marshal Campion Aubrey Rumble, C.B.E.Q. H.P.F. R.C.P.M. R.C.S. Royal Air Force. Major Edward Alexander Henry Legburke, D.L. M.P. Member of Parliament for the Isle of Ely since 1945. For political and public services, Air Vice Marshal Willett Amalric Bowen Scarlett, C.B.C. B.E.D. F.C.D.L. Chairman, East Lancashire Territorial and Auxiliary Forces Association. Robert Cockburn, ESQ, CBO, BE, Chief Scientist, Ministry of Aviation. Clifford Robertson King, ESQ, C.B.E. Chairman, Electricity Council. Sir Richard Pike Pym, V.R.D., Inspector General, Royal Ulster Constabulary. Eric John Seward, ESQ, C.B.E. British Subject Resident in Argentina. John Percival Summerscale, ESQ, C.B.E. Lately Minister, Her Majesty's Embassy, Rio de Janeiro. Robert Edmund Alford, ESQ, C. M.G., Governor and Commander-in-Chief, St Helena, New Zealand. Knight Bachelor George Douglas Robb C.M.G. M.D.F.R.C.S., a consulting surgeon, of Auckland. Order of the Bath. Companion of the Order of the Bath Military Division Rear Admiral John Michael Villiers OBE, lately on loan to the Royal New Zealand Navy. Order of St Michael and St George. Knight Commander of the Order of St Michael and St George the Honourable Aruera Tihi Matirikatine, Minister of Forests, Minister in charge of the Government Printing and Stationery Department and Associate to the Minister of Maori Affairs. Companion of the Order of St Michael and St George George Manning, of Christchurch. For services to education and local government, Robert McKean, of Otaki. For services in public affairs is a trade unionist, Member of Parliament, 1922 to 1954, and Speaker of the House of Representatives, 1947 to 1950. Order of the British Empire. Commander of the Order of the British Empire Civil Division Samuel Thompson Barnett, Secretary for Justice and Controller General of Prisons, Department of Justice, Michael Connolly JP, of Dunedin. For services in the field of local government, Alfred Hayward, Deputy Chairman of the Dairy Board. The Honourable Femi Mada Afafomwana Muline, 2, Prime Minister of Western Samoa. Military Division Captain Gillespie Hume Edwards Road, Royal New Zealand Naval Reserve. Officer of the Order of the British Empire Civil Division Francis Cornelius Allaby, of Leven. For public services, Hugh Richard Jarvis Donald B. MBCH, a medical practitioner, of Christchurch. Louis Edward Harris, of Puketapu, Napier. For philanthropic and social welfare services, especially in the interests of handicapped children, Charles John Hayward, a member of the Dunedin City Council. Frederick Arthur Kitchingham MBE, Crown Solicitor, Greymouth, since 1921. Leslie John MacDonald JP. In recognition of his services as Director of the New Zealand Standards Institute, 1936 to 1959, and to Education, Mamea Matatumua, lately Acting Secretary for Samoan Affairs, Western Samoa. Bertram Henry Olson, Director of the Naval Research Laboratory, Auckland. Ihaiaporutu Puketapu, of Lower Hutt, for social welfare services to Maori youth. Norman Hargrave Taylor, Director of the Soil Bureau. Harry Hugo Toombs, of Wellington, for services to art and music. Military Division Commander David Lennox Miller VRD, Royal New Zealand Naval Volunteer Reserve. Lieutenant Colonel Dennis Lumsden Wood MC Ed, Royal New Zealand Infantry Corps. Wing Commander Ivan Reid Mitchell DFC, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Member of the Order of the British Empire Civil Division Robert William Stanley Botting, of Dunedin. For services in local body affairs and to sport. Walter Godfrey Bowen, Chief Shearing Instructor to the New Zealand Wool Board. Mrs. Margaret Elizabeth Callan, of Auckland. For community services, especially through the Crippled Children's Society, the Reverend John Gilman Sharp Dunn, President of the Corso Council and Clerk of the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church of New Zealand. Archer Garside JP, of Onehunga, Auckland. For services to local government, Mrs. Mabel Winifred Gunn, Matron of the Whataroa Hospital, Southwestland. George Alfred Harris, Mayor of Temuka. For municipal and patriotic services, Andrew Jacob Haub JP, of New Plymouth. For services in connection with New Zealand Justices of the Peace, Miss Lucy Eva Johnston, Matron of the Abbotsford Home, Waipawa, for boys and girls, and Matron in charge, St Hilda's Home, Mrs. Mabel Elizabeth Jolly, of Cromwell. for services to education, especially through the Correspondence School Parents Association. Miss Ivy Hazel Fletcher Jones JP, Secretary Manager, Auckland Methodist Children's Home and Orphanage. David Erskine Sinclair Mason JP, Engineer to the Southland Harbour Board. George Miller of Wellington, for services to the community, especially amongst young people and in the field of sport. Donald George Alfred Munro of Wellington, for services to music. Oscar Gerald Smith of Wellington, for services rendered under the auspices of the Returned Soldiers Association. Mrs. Eileen Hannah Spencer of Palmerston North, for social welfare services. Hone Taikauru Taiapa of Rotorua, for cultural services to the Maori people, especially in the field of wood carving. Military Division Warrant Officer First Class Neville William Faithful, the New Zealand Regiment. Major Ronald Norman Griggs, Royal New Zealand Armoured Corps. Warrant Officer Second Class George Tom Holden MMEd, Royal New Zealand Armoured Corps. Major Douglas Ronald Orangehead, Royal New Zealand Army Service Corps. Major and Quartermaster Gordon William Stanley Ed, Royal New Zealand Army Medical Corps. Flight Lieutenant William Francis Rees Jackson, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Warrant Officer Robert Thomas Francis Lewis, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Companion of the Imperial Service Order Kenneth John Caverhill, lately Director of the State Advances Corporation. Edward Stephen Gale, lately Controller of Customs Department. British Empire Medal Civil Division Lawrence Gordon, Temporary Sergeant, New Zealand Police. George Innes, Sergeant, New Zealand Police. Military Division Chief Petty Officer Frederick Morris Glasson, Royal New Zealand Naval Volunteer Reserve. Chief Petty Officer George Frederick Marshall, Royal New Zealand Navy. Chief Petty Officer Cook Gerald Victor Baldwin Martin, Royal New Zealand Navy. Chief Electrical Artificer Robert Thomas Noble Moffat, Royal New Zealand Navy. Staff Sergeant John Arthur Baker, Royal New Zealand Dental Corps. Sergeant Douglas Alexander Branks, Royal New Zealand Infantry Corps. Staff Sergeant Douglas Donald Hamilton, Royal New Zealand Infantry Corps. Staff Sergeant Johnston Henry Robert Love M, Royal New Zealand Infantry Corps. Staff Sergeant Alexander George Metcalf, Corps of Royal New Zealand Electrical and Mechanical Engineers. Flight Sergeant William Alexander, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Sergeant Horace Floyd Williams, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Air Force Crossmaster Signaller James Alfred Easton, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Queen's Police Medal for Distinguished Service Orm Snow Wilson Power, Assistant Commissioner, New Zealand Police. Queen's Commendation for Valuable Service in the Air Flight Lieutenant Colin William Rudd, Royal New Zealand Air Force. Sergeant Engineer Raymond William Tocker, Royal New Zealand Air Force.